You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning, everybody in this beautiful big world of ours. Welcome to the Three's a Crowd podcast, the only podcast where we talk Sunderland, Middlesbrough and Newcastle every single weekend. I am joined by the lovely Ted the Mackham and Steve Wraith. Stevie Wraith is back. Welcome back, sir.
Hi, mate. How are you?
I'm very good, very good. Good to have you alongside. And Ted the Mackham growing his hair out for the winter blues, mate. How are you, good sir?
I'm very well. I'm recovering because I made my esports debut yesterday.
It looks like. Hold on a minute. Look, his hair growth looks like. Do you remember when you used to grow cress at school, Ted? That's what it looks.
It's better than it smelling of egg and cress.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite sandwiches, by the way. An absolute useless fact for you, but there you go.
I mean, you the radio, and I'm still not used to looking at you, Ted. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just feel like.
Well, you were looking at the back of me yesterday, weren't you? Because a little known fact, Steve, I made my esports debut yesterday.
You did. You did.
I don't know what that is.
So we play FIFA, what is essentially known as EAFC, but what used to be known as FIFA back in the day when it was good. I was recruited by a new team called Team Beam. The captain of which is sat in the middle of us now, Steve. And basically, you create a player in the game, then you join a club, and you all play as your individual player on the same team. So it's a bit like Sunday League quality, but doing it with a controller. And I had the holding midfielder role. Beautiful red hair, red sunglasses, all the kit on. You can design the whole look of him. But it wasn't just style; it was substance as well, Steve. I had an absolute state of a centre back behind me. He was out of position all the time.
I'll
tell you more about the. Yeah, you were.
No.
Scored on the debut.
They call me Steve?
No. No, you'll get your go. You'll get your go. Scored one, made a couple of absolute world-class defensive interceptions because the centre-back had gone walkabout. A little clue as to who that was. Then what happened? They went and got beat 9-1 when I went and had something to eat with the missus.
I don't know if that's true. That can't be confirmed nor denied. But I don't know what you're talking about. But Ted is going the right way for he's going to be called into the. Think of me as the Nottingham Forest owner. All right, I'm coming on the pitch. I've had enough.
You're always eating.
Welcome to all of this online stuff, lads. Honestly, bring back Subbuteo and bring back Super Tommy Cup football. That's what it was all about. Super Tommy Cup football was the noisiest football game in the world. And I yesterday when I was in the loft, actually, this is what made me download this off a page that I'm on Facebook. I actually found all my handwritten records of the games that I played against my brother. So I'm now I've now screenshotted them and I've sent them to my brother. So he'd be reliving those horrendous years where I beat him 26-0 Liverpool versus Chelsea because that was the only colours you could have. But if you remember the noise, it used to be.
Yes, I do.
And the little corner bits used to flick the ball in as well.
Yeah,
I see them. Brilliant, man. Absolutely.
My earliest memory is like FIFA 96 or 95, where if you got carded, you could run away from the ref. And like he had to catch you before he could card you, and you could run for hours, and he wouldn't be able to card you. And I just spend there hours running away from the referee, so I wouldn't get carded. Oh, good. God, we're old. Welcome on in. We will talk Newcastle, Middlesbrough and Sunderland. Sorry about that. We have got some other things going on in the background, as always. Make sure you check us out at Inrictus, at Ted the Macam, and at NUFC Matters. We have got a lot to talk about. International break, but we weren't able to catch up with you, Stevie Wraith, last week, mate. So let's go straight into Newcastle United, mate, and where they're at. Obviously, the away form is starting to worry a few. I've seen a lot of social media posts, a lot of questions about Eddie Howe, his press conference given afterwards as well. I want to get your thoughts on, mate, on what you think is Newcastle's issue. And I also want to question you about Joe Linton. Now, I don't know if we can get the picture. We might get the picture, but Joe Linton went off in the first 20 minutes. Steve, I mean, you were there, 25 minutes, with what was a penny-sized shin pad. Now, he went off because he had been absolutely attacked around the shins, but the bloke has got the smallest shin pads I've ever seen, and I want to know why is he not wearing big-sized shin pads, because then he would have probably stayed on that pitch.
I mean, the Joe Linton tackle, first of all, which you're referring to, was against Brentford, and it's surprising to me that there was no action really taken. That really was over the top. It should have been looked at, I felt. I really felt that, Joe Linton's one of these. He puts himself about, he gets up, he plays on. But that was the challenge there. And I mean, it's over the top. But even a shin pad that we wore back in the day was probably not going to protect that. That's almost knee height.
Under the knee, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost knee height. And of course, when Joe Linton was on the ground, I mean, he's as hard as goat's knees, but he rolled his sock down. There was a huge lump on there. Thankfully, it's just a cut. It won't keep him out of any games over the course of the next couple of weeks, which is fantastic news. But all the talking point was of the shin pad. But let's face it, lads, this has been going on for years. People don't wear big shin pads anymore.
They don't wear them, do they?
No, I mean, Jack Grealish, I mean, you just need to look at him when he plays for Everton. He's got like the tiniest of, flimsiest of shin pad, and he has basically his socks rolled right down. It's clearly a style thing. It's the way that he wants to look on the pitch, but it's not conducive to to keeping yourself fit on the pitch if somebody wants to come in and make an example of you. So I don't know why we've got these small shin pads now. Does it help the guys run more? I just don't know, but it really is a strange scenario, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. I've got a reference here. I've got a 50-cent coin here in Australia. This is 50 cents. This is about the size of Joe Linton's shin pad, by the way, just for reference, as I'm holding it up to camera. That was what he was wearing. Steve, honestly, that Brentford game shocked me, mate. I mean, you went in. We actually we had a voice memo from you. We didn't play it. Obviously, we kept that just between Ted and I. We didn't. And we were shocked to hear, obviously, your head and heart obviously being so different. Now, away from home, Newcastle seemed to be really struggling. And what surprised me the most on that Brentford game as well was Dan Burn being sent off, which was a massive, massive blow. Obviously, 2 yellow cards. But, I mean, going in the second half of that game, I still felt like you had something to prove. But obviously, the injury's starting to mount up now. Obviously, Asula. We've got guys in the chat asking about Tonali. I mean, you've got a tough run when we do get back from this international break. No more international breaks till March. And you've got this big derby on the horizon.
Yeah, well, fine, mate. Don't believe everything you read in the papers. Tonali has been sent home. They're saying it's a precaution. Tonali's actually one booking away from a suspension, and they need him for the playoffs. So it's a very clever little move by Italy. Tonali's fit. He's fine. He played 90 minutes the other night. And he'll be okay for Newcastle's game against Man City. I've got no doubt about that. If not, certainly be back for the Everton game. But there's nothing long-term, no injury problems for him. Lewis Hall came through 70 minutes for the England under-21s, as did Lewis Miley, which is great news for us. It means that we now have our official left-back available now for selection, which is good news. Dan Burn, of course, was an unused substitute. Bruno played his part in the Brazil win, and Alanga played 70 minutes in Sweden's latest defeat. I think they capitulated again. I think they lost 4-1. Yep. So look, we've got players fit now. Tino Livramento is training, and he should be available, if not for Man City. He should be back for at least Everton as well. And of course, the Everton game is also now penciled in for Wissa's return. It's the first time we've actually been given an official date for Wissa to put a black and white shirt on and be playing for Newcastle United. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw him maybe slightly earlier. Maybe he could be on the bench for Man City. But you know what? The injury crisis is now starting to pass. And Newcastle, when it comes to the derby in a month's time, will have what you would hope is closer to their full strength squad. My prediction last week to you guys was simple. I said, look, with my head, I'm gonna go. With my heart, I'm going to go 1-1, but with my head, I'm going to go a 2-1 defeat. And that was really because after we'd spoken on the show, obviously we found out the availability of players. We knew Gordon wasn't going to be playing, and it just felt as if it was going to be a too big a test. I guess Brentford were certainly motivated by the fact that we took Wissa off them. Keith Andrews was fuming about that, and rightly so. He's losing a good player, and I feel that was partly the motivation. But there was definitely just a hangover feeling again. And, after the West Ham game, the week before that had been down to, it was very, very similar. Newcastle taking the lead and unfortunately not being able to hold on to it. But we didn't look, we took the lead against the run of play, it has to be said. And then we just didn't really get into gear. We looked tired, we looked lethargic. Brentford targeted the left-back position, of course, which is where Dan Burn was playing. And I felt Burn was unfortunate to get 2 yellow cards. Yeah. I think 1 yellow card would have sufficed. I think Eddie Howe was at fault for not taking off Dan Burn to protect his player because he was already on a yellow card anyway, and he'd already got away with giving away a penalty. And I felt that the officials were always going to be on the lookout for him after that. So Lewis Hall coming on would have changed things. But look, it's all great with hindsight. Eddie admitted that after the match. Panic stations, no, not yet. And it's early days. And like Ted, Ted's always very honest. He knows he's got to get to 40 points. They just want to stay up. Obviously, it would be great if they can go on and do something else. But like a lot of Sunderland fans I speak to, they're not boasting and going too mad yet, and they're very aware of how the derby as well. Form goes out the window. If Newcastle still haven't got an away win by the time they go to the Stadium of Light in December, I think we all know what could happen there. Newcastle's first away win at the Stadium of Light. That would certainly be one of those kind of turning moments in the season. But it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it already. I've got my ticket. I've got my ticket for the bus. I've got a busy month coming up again. I'm going to Everton. I've got my ticket for Leverkusen. And then obviously the Sunderland game as well, and we've got Man City before that as well. So it's busy times. But Newcastle is sixth in the Champions League with a game where they can get something out of in Leverkusen, I feel. And of course, Man City at home, always an exciting game. I think there'll be goals in that, but I'm not too downhearted yet, mate. Nothing is decided in November.
Well, I completely agree, but it is coming into that crucial time, isn't it, Teddy Boy? Coming into Christmas, obviously the fixtures are now going to be coming thick and fast. And I mean, we spoke about this last week, Teddy, just you and me, obviously Newcastle and their form away from home. I mean, their form at home is fantastic. And don't get me wrong, I think any team going to St. James's Park is still worried. I don't think, but away from home, Newcastle are really struggling. And I think they are struggling, obviously, without Wissa. But one thing I want to ask you, Teddy Boy, and I want to come back to this Brentford game, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Steve, as well, is the long throw seems to be back, lads. I think Rory Delap days. I remember Rory Delap with the Stoke. Obviously, absolutely, it was almost as good as a free kick. Well, Brentford, I would have to say, and I want to get your thoughts, is probably the best in the Premier League at this long throw. We saw it deployed against Newcastle as well, to an effect. And guys in the chat as well, the long throw, it's back, Teddy Boy. Are you a fan of the long throw as a tactic? I mean, I know Sunderland have got some countermeasures at the stadium a lot.
Listen, I mean, countermeasure all you like. It didn't affect our long throw specialist. Like I like it. I honestly do. I think me and Steve have both played in a kind of defensive position, albeit it was like Sunday League standard. But we've been in that position, and when balls are coming in like that from long throws, you're absolutely right. It's as good as a free kick or a corner, and they are notoriously difficult to deal with. Arsenal, for me, didn't cope well with ours. At the Stadium of Light. We obviously deployed the countermeasures by bringing the advertising hoardings in a little bit. So that spoiled Declan Rice's day. And of course, I'm sure Arteta probably referenced that in the post-match. Yeah, I thought he might. Yeah, it was just the wind. Regis Labrise was right. It was the wind that blew them in. I like it. I think you've kind of got to use what's at your advantage.
Yep.
Sunderland aren't going to out football many teams this season, so we've got to use what we've got. Mukiele has got such an absolute deadly throw on him. We've got height in the team now for the first time in years. We've got some units that can go and attack the ball. Why not? As long as it's legal, use what you've got. Now, the problem is that it's starting to take a little bit of time for these long throws to come in. So some players who demand a fresh ball off the ball boy and all that kind of thing to spend time drying it.
Yeah,
I think what we might end up seeing is something similar to the rule that they've got with the goalkeepers, where the goalkeepers can only handle the ball for 8 seconds. And then for me, that's absolutely fine. So if we do are you multitasking, Steve? Yes, he is.
Yes,
he is. He always
does.
With
the eye contact.
He always does. Trust
me.
Steve
to the keyboard.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you're looking via tweets.
He multitasks, I multi-eat, and Ted multi-talks. It's always been how the trio works.
Exactly. So yeah, Steve, I wasn't finished, mate. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I cut you up. I know.
So I love it. I want it to stay in the game. Of course I do, because we're getting some joy out of it. But ultimately, I think there might be a rule change eventually brought in. It's just a pity they don't actually do anything with foul throws, because that's still annoying the life out of me.
Well, I think the long throw, especially at the Stadium of Light, should be banned, and I think Sunderland have fluked their way into the Premier League. Steve, on to you, mate. That long throw, you saw it firsthand against Brentford, mate. I mean, he seems to be the best at it. Does the Brentford player? I mean, the long throw, I haven't seen it as I guess potent as the Rory Delap days, and I think Brentford, are the best team at doing it. Do you think it's something that we're going to see stick around and other teams are going to deploy?
I don't think it's ever gone away. I don't know where we've suddenly all got this kind of there's a new thing in town. I genuinely feel that there's always been teams using the long throw. Granted, it might not have been as prevalent in the Premiership, but there's certainly lower leagues. The Championship, the First Division, the Second Division. These kind of things have always been there. It's not something new. I think it's almost as if we're trying to justify giving a position to somebody at a football club being called a set piece coach. We used to laugh at Sam Allardyce when he arrived at a club with 20 members of staff. But now it seems to be the case that every single football club now has to have, a masseur, a set piece coach, a nutritionalist, and on and on and on and on and on. Online, an online guy, some welfare team welfare manager. All of these positions have just been created, and it's like I don't get it. I don't really think it's ever been away. The long throw. I just think suddenly, because one or two teams are becoming fashionable in the Premier League at this moment in time, and who use these particular tactics, that's why they're being highlighted. But yeah, I've got to agree with a lot of the ex-professionals and pundits who've come out and said, well, it's always been there. We used it. It's nothing new. Maybe it's just been highlighted because there's been a few more goals scored from it. And maybe because Arsenal are at this moment in time looking favourites to win the Premier League, and of course they're quite good at set pieces, But it's all about tactics. It's all about tactics, but it's all about stats. That's what I meant to say. It's all about stats. It's not just stats. We tend to rely heavily on stats, and because these things are chucked around on Sky Sports and other networks, suddenly it becomes a fact. And they've always been there, lads, for me.
Yeah, no, I think
you never see a throw in like Stevie Watson's anymore, do you, Steve?
No. God, he should do the somersault, didn't he? Before he took the throw in. He did that once as a 16-year-old, and he, obviously got asked to do it a few times. But mental, that absolutely.
It was incredible. I think it's obviously something Brentford are deploying well, and you're probably right. It hasn't gone away. I haven't seen it at the Borough in a long time. I think we've had Luke Ayling and George Edmondson only in recent times now start deploying it. So I can't remember you deploying it in the Championship last season, Teddy Boy, but obviously Makalele coming in this season has given you a weapon. Do you think you have got a long throw specialist in your team, Steve? I mean, do you think Dan Burn has got a good long throw on him.
Dan Burn has been nominated. Eddie Howe spoke about this a couple of weeks ago in the press conference, and he said that they had a competition. You know, that had a throwing competition, and Dan Burn is the person who can throw the ball the longest. So he's the man who does the. He's the man who was selected for long throws.
Ironic that that's the person you want on the end of it, though.
Yeah.
It is very, very good point. Very, very good point. Well, we are in the middle of an international break, but when we do come back, we have got an absolute incredible fixture. But one thing we need to talk about is Middlesbrough's search for a new manager. Steve, obviously you did catch this on the end, mate, but you were away. Middlesbrough have had to part ways with Rob Edwards due to him taking up the Wolves job. There was an absolute social media storm against Rob Edwards. A lot of Wolves fans coming to his defence as well. Well, Rob Edwards has taken up a 4-year deal at Wolverhampton Wanderers after leaving Middlesbrough only 4 months in. Steve Gibson, I know personally, was absolutely irate, obviously, and he's obviously taken his assistant coach Harry Watling with him. The one thing, Steve, that annoyed me the most with this whole departure of Rob Edwards, and I was saying this, it's the fact he didn't say sorry. Now, I know that a lot of you, and I want to hear what you guys have to say on this, and especially you, Steve, but the one thing that we've seen now, Teddy Boy, between last podcast and this, that Rob Edwards made a statement. It was, for what I felt like, a ChatGPT statement. It was something that he's just cocked it up. But one thing that upset me was that he didn't say sorry. Now, a lot of people will sit there and say, well, he didn't need to say sorry. But one thing that I think is when you come into a club, we were very vulnerable coming off the back of Michael Carrick. And what I mean by that, Michael Carrick's style of football, the way he coached, the way he spoke in press conferences, didn't really promote unity. He didn't really bring us together as a club, if that makes sense. It was kind of us against him in a way. And I think that was due to his style of football, but also when it came to, questions about, is this a must win? We all knew it was a must win. He had to win it. But he would defer from that. And when he left, we were kind of fractured. We were frustrated with the style of football, frustrated that we'd had 3 years of Michael Carrick and not gotten anywhere. But now Rob Edwards comes in and he is like a breath of fresh air. Togetherness, family. He goes and has beers at the local pub with the Red Faction. Do you know what I mean? He goes to all of the, the classrooms. He goes to all of the community things. He absolutely gels us together. And he goes on BBC and he says, we're a family. We're in this together. Stop, And we saw when Morgan Whittaker was, taken off and some of the fans booed because he had a poor performance. He said, stop that. We're together. We're a family, please. And he promoted love. But then to leave, Steve, so quickly and not say sorry, that's where that's where I found it really disheartening. I understand the pull of Premier League. I understand the pull of him being closer to home. I understand the pull of the more money. I'm a human and I get it. But what I don't get is when you come in talking like that, not to say sorry. Do you think you needed to say sorry?
There's no loyalty in football, is there? I mean, contracts aren't worth the paper they're written on. And that really is the worst part about football these days. There is no loyalty, and I just felt, the move to Wolves was a bit of a head scratcher for me. But it can only be about one thing. It can only be about money. He can't be looking at that and saying that he's going to turn things around, because I think the guy who left was more experienced and had more chance of doing it. And I just think it's a strange move. But yeah, I would be annoyed if a manager had walked out like that and in such a short space of time. The fact that he got off to a really good start is even more irking. And I just don't understand it, but it's down to money, mate. It's as simple as that. And I've seen a lot of social media posts by Middlesbrough fans and people at the club, and I can see why they're hurt and rightly upset. So it is very, very annoying. But you've just got to learn from it, build and move on. Sadly,
Teddy, one thing that I want to ask you, mate, is one, if you think in a guy in his position, and you follow obviously through the podcast and that what Rob Edwards was like and what a breath of fresh air and how much love he promoted. For him not to say sorry in his outgoing statement was a really, really sour point. I keep saying, I can understand why with the money in that, but just say sorry.
I don't think he could have said it. He could have said it, but ultimately, what would that fix? Because it would have been empty. The guy's reputation's taken an absolute battering anyway, because he's, to all intents and purposes, displayed Isaac rat-like behaviour by saying no, it's dead. I'm here for the long haul. This is, what an honour to be here and all that sort of stuff. So even an apology at that stage would have just fell on deaf ears, mate. It's when you find yourself agreeing with Simon Jordan is when you've kind of my God, I'm listening to him going, this is a first. This is next I'll be agreeing with Piers Morgan. I don't know what was going on, but they're absolutely right. This will be so damaging because let's face it, he ain't going to be in the Wolves job for long because he's not going to keep them up. Very rarely does a club keep a manager that took them down a division. Very, very rarely. The last one that did that was Luton with Rob Edwards, but then he took them down to another division. So yeah, they had to get rid. So listen, you've dodged a bullet as far as I'm concerned. You've got somebody with the loyalty of a skip rat. And to be honest, you just need to look forward now. I'll just having a quick look at the odds there. Raphael Wicke is obviously the leading contender, who's was the coach at Young Boys. Basel as well, and Chicago Fire. Listen, he could be one of them that just comes back. I know, obviously, Gerrard's still doing the rounds a little bit. I don't think Steve Gibson will go for him. I really don't. He's not like a Steve Gibson kind of manager for me. Gary O'Neill could be a decent bet, though. I just think to keep Viviash, I think that might be a decent one. I think O'Neill could work with him. He knows the club well. He wasn't a bad coach at Wolves. He was there at a time where they were just selling their best players off like it was going out of fashion. So I think, I don't know what the Borough fans make of it. I think Gary O'Neill actually could be a decent shout for it. But it's Sam Allardyce. Tom, do you know what? He might complete the Holy Trinity and manage Middlesbrough as well. He's done the same for Newcastle and Sunderland. So Sam Allardyce isn't a bad shout, Tom. I know that might be a half sarcastic one from yourself, but you'll do well at Borough. And you've just got to pick up, appoint somebody who they think can, play the same way as what they have been, and make the most out of the squad that you've got, which is a talented squad, by the way. It's good enough to get promoted. And it's just time to crack on next weekend.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for Borough fans coming in as well, the rumours are that Raphael Wicke is our new manager. Everyone is favouring him to take the hot seat. Adi Vivesh to continue. Obviously, Adi Vivesh is Mark Robbins' long-term assistant. We were very, very keen on bringing him to the club in the summer. He was a club appointment even before Rob Edwards came in with Harry Watling. And Adi Vivesh will stick around. He will take the lead of the next Borough games if Raphael Wicke falls through or if there's Steven Gerrard or whatever it is. But it's a big thing. And one thing that and Barry's put it in us, and will it solidify? One thing it has done, and I've never noticed it before, more than this, but we have been galvanized as a fan base in hatred for one man, and I haven't seen it in that game against Birmingham. It was absolutely incredible. We sold the Riverside Stadium out, and it is us coming together in the hatred for one man. And if Rob Edwards did anything, it's that he brought us together in anger. And obviously there was the rat comments and everything like that by the Red faction. The club put out some severe statements. But one thing I want to finish with as well, Rob Edwards, is I wouldn't want to be annoying or putting myself on the bad side of a man like Steve Gibson or Neil Bassor. Neil Bassor, who is obviously our CEO, he is obviously on the board of the FA, but Steve Gibson is a very well-regarded, well-known man in English football. He's been around for 30-odd years, and I think he's got a lot of contacts that he's now burnt in regards. We saw, during the game as well, Sir Brian Robson was sat next to Steve Gibson for the Birmingham game as well. So, look, it's going to be an interesting road for Middlesbrough now in terms of who we get, but I hope that it galvanizes us in a big push because we've got the squad to do it. We just need the right man to lead us and someone that we can get behind. Now, on to, obviously, Sunderland. We got a little bit of time just before we play everyone's favourite cat. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about quickly, Ted, just before we go there, is Roy Keane. Roy Keane, obviously, a massive man for you guys a couple of years ago. He was on the Overlap just last week, mate, and he spoke about the contract situation, which I wasn't actually privy to, of a 4-year court battle. Now, the story is this, and I will base it loosely, but Roy Keane obviously was the manager of Sunderland. He was then sacked. He was then not paid because of for the rest of his tenure, because of he made a gentleman's agreement with then time as it was it Niall Huggins? Was that the ex I think it might have been Niall Quinn. I was close. No, I wasn't. He made an agreement with him, but because it was a gentleman's agreement and it wasn't in writing, Roy Keane had to go to courts that took 4.5 years for him to get the money that he was owed, and he finally got it paid. And it was an interesting insight. Were you privy to any of that with Roy Keane and the departure and the legal battle of 5 years later?
Not at all, but I mean, what you've got to remember in that time is the ownership changed of the football club. So when Roy came in, it was the Dromerville Consortium, which was Niall Quinn led a group of Irish, essentially mostly Irish businessmen, into buying the club from Bob Murray. Did really well to get us into the Premier League. They spent up to the means that they were allowed, but then of course Ellis Short, the American, bought the club, and that's who essentially let Roy Keane go. There might have been a gentleman's agreement in place with Niall Quinn, but Niall Quinn wasn't in charge when Roy Keane was let go of the club. So it doesn't surprise me, because as much as Ellis Short did put a lot of money into the club, and I mean a lot of money, but it was so badly managed, that money. You had an absolute clown in charge of recruitment called Roberto De Fanti, who looked like Keith Lemon in an Italian suit. It was just absolutely... It was horrendous. There was money just getting lost left, right, and centre. There was even a rental agreement for plastic trees in the stadium, in the concourses and things like that. It was just ridiculous the way the money was being mismanaged. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was the case. But Roy Keane's, he's still a legend now. He came to the club in a terrible, terrible time. Yeah. One thing I want to ask you about Sunderland right at this moment in time, lads, and I know we've got the cap to come, but should I be getting carried away at this point? Because I keep on kind of thinking, right, we're almost a third of the way through the season. We're in 4th place, and Steve's right. I'm very much kind of like, let's play it down. We're just off to a good start. But I'm looking around. There's a couple of people going, should we get carried away? Because 90% of Sunderland fans are all going, look, it's just a good start. The target is still staying up, all that kind of thing, which I still very much believe. But I'm still looking at it now going, we're going into Christmas, the Christmas run of games, kind of sitting in a European spot. I was watching the Man City-Liverpool game going, well, if City win this, we're still in the Champions League spot. Hang on, what? And I'm thinking, should I actually be getting carried away? So, lads, what do you reckon? Am I just being boring, or should I get carried away now?
Are you talking about men in white suits?
Not again. I've got the meds for that, mate.
What type of carrying?
Look, it's a great start. You've gone from, they'll get beat next week. They haven't played anybody to, a really good run, and then the Arsenal game, that's either going to be a game which helps you kick on and, you get Europe this season, or it's going to be a game where you peak and then you drop off. So it's interesting. It's fascinating at the moment. You just got to enjoy the ride while you can, because you never know what's around the corner, as you say. But, lots of people say an AFCON's going to affect you. Well, the players that are leaving on, I think it's 3 people who are playing regularly. The others who are going on, even in the team, you have got players behind. You're being linked with bigger names in the January window as well. So there is potential to spend more money by the looks of it. So, look, you've got to get it right this season, because you've spent so much money. If you don't get it right this season, you've got problems. So it's almost been like a huge roll of the dice by Kirill and the rest of the team, and they've so far so good for them. They've got it right. But like I say, the biggest appointment they got right was the manager, because the manager's come in. He's as calm and collected as you would want. Speaks a lot of sense. Clearly, somebody who dedicates a lot of time to the job, and somebody who, at this moment in time, has got the, he's got what it takes to keep Sunderland up, certainly, but maybe something beyond that. But it's that second part of the season where everybody knows what Sunderland are about. They know they know your style, they know the players, and that's what these people behind the scenes get paid for. The people who are analysts, the people who are who study the stats. That's when it comes around in the second half of the season. So, some people are saying it could be like Hull, who are top of the league at Christmas and then plummeted in the second half. Of course, it could be, but Having watched Sunderland this season, I'd be very surprised if that happens. I still think they'll finish mid-table. I still think Newcastle will finish above them, but I think it's been a hell of a start, and I can't see Sunderland struggling. I think they'll do well.
And just before we get to it, from me, Teddy boy, I've been sitting there since the championship run going, at some point this is going to stop, and it hasn't. And I think at some point you have to sit there as a footballing fan and go, well, Regis is actually doing very well, because everyone's sitting there waiting for you to be tested and to play a better team and for AFCON to come. And there seems to be always an excuse of why Sunderland shouldn't be where they are. But they are where they are for a reason. It's because they are well coached and you have recruited very well. Look at Sheffield United, who you beat. You know what I mean? They are absolutely bottom of the championship now. You know what I mean? You broke them so badly. You had that amazing run. I mean, think about that Dan Ballard header in the 94th minute against Coventry. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just moments like that that have just gone your way. And I think everything at the moment seems to keep going your way. So I would be enjoying it. I don't think any Sunderland fan is sitting here going, we're going to win the league. Do you know what I mean? And they might joke about it. Do you know what I mean? And they might. And look, I think it's that fun. It's that banter. And I think you should be enjoying it for sure. Would I be getting ahead of myself? I'm not too sure, Teddy. I honestly, you know what I'm like. I'd probably be in your ears every day about if Middlesbrough were there, but we're not. I just think one thing that we need to see is I would like to see Regis tested. And I'm not sure when that's going to happen. And I'm not sure who's going to test him. But when there's got to be a point where at some stage something happens. You know what I mean? Wolves have been thereabouts. West Ham have been thereabouts. You know, and they're now getting tested. You know what I mean? And that's when you find the real character of a man, when they're tested and when it's not going all their way. Because at the moment, it's pretty easy sailing. Do you know what I mean? He's got a good, strong squad. He hasn't got many bad injuries to contend with. He's got a few, don't get me wrong. And then if he does strengthen in January as well, how does that look? And Alan Brown came out and said it for Middlesbrough as well just recently that, you know, he and a few of the lads that weren't able to make it in the Premier League were left upset and they were training away from the group and stuff like that. So there is some, you know, players getting pushed aside and whether that has to continue and all that sort of stuff. So I enjoy it. Take a day at a time, mate. And I wouldn't be looking too far ahead because you never know what's around the corner. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is the halfway point of Three's a Crowd. If you are enjoying it, make sure you like and subscribe. But it is time to sit back and have a laugh. It's time for Troll of the Week.
Thanks to everybody who sent them in. Alexander Rizak is still the person who keeps on giving as far as Newcastle fans are concerned. Here is one of those latest player cards. I suck.
Looks like Ted's character.
It does that. And Isaac's so desperate to get back to Newcastle, he's took a job as a safety steward, apparently. Thanks to everybody who sent in these stag do and Halloween pictures. This is the kid went out and was dressed like this for Halloween. Very, very good. We do like a bit of sport on this program. We're all sport orientated, of course. This guy's 104 years old. What's your excuse? Guy replied, said he had more time to train. We do like a celebrity at football matches. How about Hagrid and Dumbledore at this match? Fantastic. And I've often laughed at people behind goals when people are celebrating either on mobile phones and filming or holding up a bit of cardboard. But fans not getting excited when there's a goal at Sunderland.
Jeez.
What is this guy? The guy's just standing. Like, is he shocked?
He's the one. He's
in shock.
He's in shock. Definitely in shock. And it's always good to get the badge in when you're at a football match, of course.
Yeah.
But how about getting the goggles in? This guy was spotted at Guildford City versus Sutton United in the Surrey Senior Cup the other night.
Biggles, isn't it?
Fantastic, that. Absolutely fantastic. The guy as well we featured on here who had the Man City flag out the house a couple of weeks ago, you might remember. Well, some clever guy has since gone up to the house and put another flag underneath his flag. I love it. What's next at that house? I'll keep an eye out for you, lads. I will keep an eye out. We're also talking about the cars parked at the side of football pitches. Thank you to Jim who sent us this one in. Brilliant. from a 1970s game. 3 Robin Reliance parts.
Oh, just
wow.
Excellent.
Good seats. Good seats.
Great seats, yeah. And can you spot it? Good vantage point in this game.
Oh, man.
Yes, there he is at the back in the tree. I mean, come on. It could have cost me £6 to go in, mate. £6, that's all. Tattoos as well feature on this part of the show quite a lot. Dear God.
Oh, my God. No way.
Hey.
No way.
That's got to be AI.
No, it's real. And I did like this one as well. This was put up outside the ground. We are both people at Sunderland. Very clever, very clever. This one as well, John Terry. I've been invited by Tottenham to the game. It's a 5:30 kickoff. They've told us to arrive at 5:29, and they'll take me around their trophy cabinet and have me at my seat by kickoff. Very good, very clever. I do like a cartoon as well. I want men to run after me, she says to the genie. And this one was on a toilet wall at an away game that I went to. Zebedee, 1980 to 2004, Chelsea's finest. If you know, guys. Sunderland fans as well have been trolling Newcastle with these 2 away defeats. Today's dressing room photo. Very good. Very good. We do like something which has got which makes everybody go in the chat, and this was lovely. To be brutally honest, if I wasn't such a coward, I would have ended it all sooner. Borough, thank you for the memories I was able to have with my granddad. Borough fans, thanks for being so kind and welcoming on here. Keep being together. I'm sorry. The Middlesbrough Football Club tweeted, "We're all with you, Matt. We've sent you a DM. There are a lot more memories to come." That was somebody who obviously was going through a hard time, Borough fan, and Middlesbrough taking the time out to reply directly to him, which I thought was lovely. Well done. Wow. Well done to the social media people at Middlesbrough. Excellent work. Yeah. Finish with these 2. Another tattoo. What on earth possessed the guy to get this?
Oh, my God.
Any ideas? I've got no idea about that.
Get the badge in at least.
We got the badge in, yeah, it's excellent. We'll finish off with this one. Whoever drops the $5 first loses. Winner keeps the $5 when you want to watch the football in peace. Hey, all right, young kids. I'll leave that one with you. If you've got tweets, get them over to the lads on their social medias, or you can email me at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com, and we will get the cat out again next week.
Thank you for Troll of the Week. Welcome back to Three's a Crowd podcast, the only podcast in the Northeast where we cover Newcastle, Sunderland, and Middlesbrough, rivals that are brought together with a bit of banter, a bit of laugh, and we cover all 3 teams each weekend right here on Three's a Crowd. Lads, I want to talk to you. We have got an international break. We've got a big run of fixtures coming up that I want to get into a little bit soon. But one thing that I wanted to talk to you about is we are online. Obviously, we are. We do a podcast. Each of us have got an online presence. Now, I wanted to talk to you about this, and this is a report that came out just this morning, and I don't want to spring it on you, but this is what the report said, is that FIFA has said it has reported more than 30,000 abusive posts to social media platforms this year. They say that they have had to report at least 20,000 in the space of the season starting this year. They say that they are sick of it, the social media presence that people are having, and they're just consistently, crossing the line. Now, this varies from racism to sexism to abuse to child abuse. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about was Norwich. Now, Norwich City, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, they're almost bottom of the championship. They are struggling big time. They appointed Liam Manning in the summer. Now, in the last game, Norwich City were leaving the ground. The families and children of the footballers were heavily abused. They had beers thrown at them. They had absolutely vile abuse thrown at the families. I wanted to ask you, lads, I think we're all smart enough to know that we don't cross the line on social media. What possesses someone, Ted, and I'll come to you, I want to know what goes through someone's mind to think that they can, one, abuse the family of a footballer because they've played poorly, when they're coming out of the ground, i.e. Norwich City, where the poor wife of a footballer came out and said, I don't know what I've done to deserve this, when she's shielding her child getting to the bus. Do you know what I mean? And then these players then have to deal with that and hear that from their loved ones. And then they go home and they read on social media, which they do. Do you know what I mean? All players seem, they're all attached to social media, and they read racism, or they read vile abuse, or their houses have been robbed while they're being at the game because they knew they were at the game. I mean, it's a crazy situation, Ted, and 30,000 reports on social media. I mean, what can we do as a society to stop this? Because I think it's just getting worse.
This is what happens when you live in a society where the people throwing abuse have forgotten what it's like to get a smack in the mouth. It really does come down to that. And, we're all from an era, before social media existed, that if you said somebody to offend someone else, you got to dig for it. Whether it was you got a slap off your parents, you got a slap off a copper, you got a slap off somebody who was bigger than you, who go unacceptable. And unfortunately, because we live in a society that most of the stuff is said either behind a keyboard or with very, very little in terms of comeback, that people just think they can get away with it, and it's absolutely unacceptable. I've lived through 2 lifetimes worth of Sunderland being absolutely horrendous. We like to say that we support our club through thick and thin. Us three have supported through thin and thinner most of the time. Let's be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
Never once has it entered my mind to start and just hurl abuse at players, and you can be critical. Of course, you can be critical. I've been critical of Dan Neil. I've been critical of Luke O'Nien. But that's all to do with their footballing ability and what we have as opinions. When you start to chuck abuse at people's kids, at people's wives, I'm sorry, you're an absolute scumbag, and you deserve the good old-fashioned smack in the mouth to sort it out, to be honest. I'm not saying we should go out there and be vigilantes and go and, avenge people and all that sort of thing, but, unfortunately, people just get away with far too much now. Thankfully, they are still the minority. There might have been 30,000 posts that FIFA have reported. I'm sure 20,000 of them were probably aimed at FIFA themselves to the amount of international breaks, but that's by the by. And they deserve any abuse that they're getting FIFA. Let's be honest. But listen, no, it's a minority of people who are idiots, and the rest of us out there who will call it out, and they're the people who we've got to make football about. And the vast majority of the footballing community, and certainly in the case of Norwich City, the vast majority of the community will be right behind their players, the families, and long may that continue. But yeah, we need to stamp out the scumbag behaviour.
Steve, over to you, mate. You and I especially, we're no strangers to abuse online, I think, and we've both copped it in our 10 years, I guess you could say, me in my short one and you in your long one. But one thing that, I'll bring it up as well, is that we saw that post in Troll of the Week about one bloke coming out, he's a Middlesbrough fan, crying out for help, and the club responded amicably. Now, there were 1,000 more posts below that of him saying, stop crying for attention, stop being an idiot. And it was abuse. He was abused, the left, right, and center. And he was abused for crying out for attention and why are you doing it? You know what I mean? And it just seems to be a society, again, that isn't ready to stop abusing people. And I think, again, one of the craziest ones that I've heard is, they're abusing family members of the footballers now.
When Ted started by saying, this is what happened when, it reminded me of one of Joe Allen's old lines on stage. This is what happens when cousins multiply. But it genuinely is, really. There is a way to stop this, and it's very simple. It's the big companies taking responsibility. It's the likes of TikTok. It's the likes of Twitter. It's the like of Facebook. It's the like of any of these social media channels being able to come out and stop the abuse. And it's very easy to do. It really is very easy to do, but they choose not to. And you know, it wouldn't right the wrongs of what's happened in the past. We've seen people kill themselves because of abuse on social media. Kids, adults, celebrities, you know, who just can't take the abuse anymore. We've seen people radicalized because of social media. We've seen so many bad things. But, and there is a but, and you've already mentioned it, that there is so much positive that comes out of social media as well. Being able to, you know, generate huge amounts of money for either charities or people who are in need of cash urgently, people who whose families are left behind after somebody does pass away. People set up a GoFundMe page. You know, there's so much more positive than there is negative from it. But you know, it is easy to focus on the negatives. But the one way for this to stop, the one way for this to change, is for the companies to take responsibility, and whether that's through, you know, I don't know, some kind of age restriction where, you know, we've seen a huge change recently with pornography in the UK being put behind an age restriction wall, which that's a huge step forward, because, you know, lots of sex crimes and stuff like that, which have been mentioned over the years. You know, they say that internet has played a part in some people's mental changes, which have led to them going down that particular road, and because they see, you know, somebody portrayed in a certain way, and that's become a real positive in that sense, because now, you know, they have all of those kind of age restrictions in place. Youngsters can't see that. They can't just stumble upon it on the internet anymore. So why can't they do that with all of these other social medias? Why can't they do that and operate a three strikes and you're out scenario? So if you do go on and make three racist comments, or make three, you know, comments which are not acceptable in our society, then why aren't you just stripped of your rights to either go on the internet or the social media or whatever? They can do it. The problem is they don't want to do it, because it's all about the numbers. It's all about the algorithm. It's all about you know, clicks, and through clicks, people make money. It's as simple as that. So yeah, it does need to be changed.
Yeah, it's incredible stat. That's all. I just thought 30,000 was incredible, and obviously it's being reported. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's unfortunately, people are getting a name to themselves through drama, through hatred and stuff like that. We just recently saw Alan Nixon going through a social media storm that everyone thought was hilarious, sort of thing. So it's incredible. Anyway, back to the football. We have got an England game to talk about now. Everyone's international favourite, England, taking on Albania today. Lads, I want to get a quick prediction from you. Obviously, Australia played yesterday and we lost to Venezuela, but I will give a prediction for England as well. It's going to be a qualifier that I think Thomas Tuchel is going to be relishing. It's going to be a tough qualifier. I don't think it's going to be anything easy for England. I just think that England should be winning this one, though, and I think I'm going to go a 2-0 to England. Teddy boy, Albania versus England, good sir, in the international break.
Has England been playing? Honestly,
I knew you'd be like that. I knew.
No.
Just give us a prediction.
I predict I won't be watching it.
Fair enough.
Listen, given what they've, you know, there was some sort of like there was moaning about the way England were approaching some of the games when Tuchel first took over. The record speaks for itself in qualifying. They get to concede in something like 8 games now. I can see that continuing, to be honest. I can't see that slowing down. Having said that, that's what they should be doing. Because the group, you talk about the days. I mean, to be honest, Steve, can you remember when we're in qualifying groups with Italy and people like that?
Yeah,
you know, absolute top end teams. This isn't a challenge anymore, and
it's crap.
It is. Of course it is. Of course it is. And it's, you know, FIFA turning into the white knight of social media is one thing, and like, so, you know, taking care of 30,000 tweets or social media mentions. Like that's all great, but let's focus on what FIFA should be doing, which is creating actual quality tournaments. And they're not doing it. They're just filling it full of garbage. It's this is exactly how the whole financial crisis hit in 2008, because it's all popped up on a load of crap. And it's made me completely lose interest in international football, lads, to be honest. I would rather than watch an England game, I'd rather get on the Xbox and have a game with Team Bean. Much rather do that.
Yeah. Steve, will you be watching Albania versus England, mate?
I might have it on in the background. I've got to be honest, when it gets towards the business end of the group, if there's something to play for, I might put it on. If there's an interest in one of your players playing, I might put it on, but it wouldn't be something I'd sit down and, not have anything else on. And, I wouldn't have my interest's not in it at the moment. When you get to the tournaments, yes, of course, I'm going to watch England play in the World Cup. Yes, I'm going to watch England play in the Euros. But it really is it isn't what it used to be. That's for certain. And I guess the other downside of watching England is we're starting to see how good Elliot Anderson is. He's now become an England regular, and it's the PSR ruling changed things for us massively, and of course that's spoiled things for us. We've lost a really good player there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is going to be interesting. I think obviously in England, I think it's going to be it's the top of the group clash. I mean, it's crazy to think that, but England versus Albania is 1v2, and I do think England will get the sherbets today. Lads, I want to quickly talk to you about the upcoming fixtures. Obviously, thank goodness the international break is over, and we have got a big run into December now, into Christmas, where we notoriously sit down and have a review of where we're at pretty much halfway through the season. Newcastle's next 3 games are Man City at home, Marseille away, and then Everton away. Sunderland coming away at Fulham, home to Bournemouth, and then away to Liverpool. And Middlesbrough will be away to Oxford United, then home to Coventry City in what was, if it stays as is, we've 1v2, and then a home tie against Derby County. Steve, give us a quick preview of the next 3 games and what you're expecting to see from Newcastle and how they're going to bounce back from their away form. You've got one home game here against Man City, but then you've got an away game to Marseille and an away game to Everton. How can Eddie Howe, and I can see the comments coming in the chat, how can Eddie Howe get Newcastle back and firing for that Marseille and Everton trips away?
Yeah. The bottom line is it's not being able to train with a group is probably been a big problem as well. The international breaks have really meant that Newcastle are missing their core players. And, with the international breaks finishing, he can start getting back to basics. The other thing as well is having Champions League games. It means that it is not the usual training pattern. So it has been a struggle for Newcastle, but, they aren't out of the picture with the Premier League, not by a long shot. They're in a good position with the Champions League. They're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup with the FA Cup still to come. We have got everything to play for this season. We are still playing on all fronts. So I am not disappointed in that. How do we change things? Well, a confident performance and a good result against Man City would help. Man City are firing on all cylinders. Haaland's looking unstoppable.
Haaland is incredible.
Unplayable. We need to make sure that we get the centre-half pairing right, which really, statistically, it tells you that Fabian Schär, Haaland's never scored with Fabian Schär playing against him. So you would play Fabian Schär centre-half alongside Malik Chow, but I think you'll play Dan Burn alongside Malik Chow. I think you'll drop Botman, and I think you'll bring Haaland at left-back and play Trippier right-back. I think he will go 4-3-3. It'll be interesting to see whether Wissa's back for that game. The away form, I think Champions League away form's been, we got a win in the Champions League away from home.
Yeah.
Marseille is going to be difficult, but it's not impossible to get something there. I genuinely feel that we've got a chance of getting a point out there. I think the Everton game is a chance for Newcastle to get their first win. Sunderland fans will be hoping that, because honestly, that would be the one place where we go. And Newcastle could win at Sunderland, and it would be typical. That's the kind of thing that happens in these kind of games. I think Newcastle will get a point against Man City. I think they'll get a point against Marseille, and I think they'll get 3 points against Everton. I think that's the way it'll work. And then it sets us up nicely for Leverkusen and the derby. But I think the Man City game is going to be a high scoring one. I wouldn't be surprised to see it being a 2-2 draw. As for Marseille away, I fancy Newcastle to win that game, get a draw, in that game, but I think it'll be a lot tighter. I'm going to go for a 0-0 in Marseille.
Wow. And just quickly, Eddie Howe, in or out for you, Steve?
Eddie in all day long. He's got plenty of credit. He's got plenty of credit in the bank, mate. And, I think that Newcastle will win another trophy with Eddie Howe as manager.
There you go, Newcastle fans. On to Sunderland quickly. The next 3 fixtures, as I said, Teddy boy, Fulham away, and then you've got a home tie against Bournemouth, and then a tricky away trip to Liverpool. I say tricky, but Liverpool suck at the moment, so it's going to be easy. Honestly, Teddy boy, we were talking recently about how you should be enjoying every moment. I wouldn't be going into any of these games scared. I think Fulham are they're in a big trouble. They've got Marco Silva really on the ropes, and he's sort of surviving for his job. I think the Bournemouth game is going to be the trickiest there, and that's at home though for the Stadium of Light. How do you see the next 3 fixtures going for Sunderland, and what would you be hoping from a points tally wise?
Yeah, it's it's definitely not going to be 9 points, is it? Let's be honest. That my head and heart thing. Yeah, that's definitely my heart isn't even in 9 points. So yeah, listen, Fulham's going to be a tricky one because they're on really bad form, and they are starting to almost look like relegation form here.
Yes, they are.
I think if we get any kind of result out of that might be the end of Marco Silva and Fulham, because his form has just been not good at all. Not good at all. So, listen, I fancy a point out of that one, because Craven Cottages, and Steve will agree with me here, it's a proper ground. It's a proper away ground where they're on top of the pitch. I think it'd be a great atmosphere. Certainly, our numbers will be full in terms of travel and support. It'll be rocking at the Cottage. It'll be a good game, and I can see us getting a point out of that one. Bournemouth, very, very tricky game. Very tricky game. And Semenyo was obviously a loanee of ours at one time. Didn't perform brilliantly for us by any means, but
is it to be believed as well?
Love seeing his story and the way he's kind of come back and improved and really developed as a player. So I think he'll get a decent reception. I think that one too is actually going to be a bit of a tough one. I honestly, Bournemouth are a quality side, and I would take a draw out of that all day long. And I know the Sunderland fans saying, "Nah, we'll win that one." They are no mugs. They're a very, very well organised team. So I'm going to say a draw out of that one. So that's 2 points out of 2 games. Liverpool, I will smash them.
Heavy's that one from me.
Listen, it's Steve. It's under the lights. This one, remember?
It's always under the lights. Always under the lights.
Again, it's going to be.
Is there a beach ball involved?
Oh, there'll be plenty going down to Liverpool. I'm telling you that for now. But no, listen, it'll be a great atmosphere down there, mostly because of the Sunderland fans. Because let's face it, Anfield's only good for the first 30 seconds when they sing "You'll Never Walk Alone." Then it's like a library. Good game again. I think we'll nick a point.
Yeah,
I think.
I honestly, your performance against Arsenal, if that can be replayed in any way, those teams are in for a right scare. I completely and utterly agree with that. It's going to be very interesting. As for Middlesbrough, just finally, we've got a trip away to Oxford United. Then we got a home tie against Coventry and a home tie against Derby. These three games are a little bit bittersweet to me, lads, because as you two are well aware, I was meant to be there for these next 3 games, but obviously family circumstances and life wasn't permitting. So I will be sitting down here in Australia watching these games. But Oxford United, I think, is going to be interesting given that whether the manager is in by then, we're talking Raphael Wiki, or will it be Adi Vivesh? I still think Middlesbrough have got a good enough squad and a good enough coach in Adi Vivesh to get past Oxford United. Oxford United currently relishing down in 18th in the Championship. I honestly think Middlesbrough should be going down there and taking at least a point, if not a victory. Then we have the massive midweek game against Coventry, which will be 1v2 if all things were to stay the same. That is going to be absolutely massive. Middlesbrough and Coventry, I don't really know how we're going to see it go. We've had such an insane rivalry that's been created out of nothing over the past couple of years. I mean, we saw Chris Wilder when he was first sacked, his last game was against Coventry. Michael Carrick getting sacked, his last game was against Coventry. Who did Michael Carrick lose to in the playoffs when he made it? Coventry. I mean, it's incredible. We're now sitting second. Who's above us? Coventry. It's incredible. Beale for both. Get that off the screen, you absolute jokesters. My God. Michael Beale. I saw a rumor of that, him coming in with Gerrard as well, and I vomited here in my office. It still smells. It was incredible. Please, Michael Beale, don't do it. And then Middlesbrough have got at a home tie against Derby. Look, I'm honestly going for 3 points against Oxford United. I'm going for a point at least against Coventry because it's at home at the Riverside. And then Derby County, I'm not sure about that one. That could prove. Steve Bruce. How's the bacon, did you say? I mean, I don't mind bacon. But Raphael Wiki is the rumour for Middlesbrough. We are the only Northeast team without a club. We Wiki. Hey, Wiki Yusufan, the songwrites itself is credible. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Over 280 of you watching us live. As always, we appreciate it. It is an international break. The content may be not there for the football, but we were able to come together and give you, hopefully, what was a good show. I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure you like, consider subscribing as well. Check out at Steve Wraith, at nufcmatters.co.uk, at Inrictus, or at Ted the Mackin for all three. If you are a FIFA expert, Team Beam. Where the two of us, not Steve, yes. we might get Steve in as a manager. I think he'd suit us as a manager. He'd give us a right bollocking after that 9-1 defeat, I tell you.
We'll do the opposition.
We'll be back next week where we have got finally no more international breaks. We'll have full football and we'll be full steam ahead leading into that derby, lads, which I cannot wait. As a man that sits in the middle of you two, I cannot wait. That is near on the horizon, lads, and my God, is it going to be juicy. Take care of one another. Be kind to one another. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back next week with more Three's a Crowd. It's bye from us for now.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.